Hello everybody, my name is Tanner Kyler, and today I am bringing you a very unique and overlooked plant throughout the majority of the northern deserts. I am in the Columbian Basin of eastern Washington actually. And if you look around, this doesn't look much like Washington, and many people don't know about this, but there is a deserty region of this area. So this area only receives about 8 to 12 inches of precipitation a year. So everything that grows here has to be very well adapted to this intense heat because it gets quite warm in the summertime and intense cold in the winter. It gets very cold because we're in a very northern area. And so this area experiences extreme temperature swings, and because it isn't the prettiest area, many of the species and residents of this area are overlooked and seen as nothing but nuisance and pests to the cattle industry or the farming industry. And so what we have right here isn't the healthiest looking one, but it's an excellent view. That's why I chose this, but we'll actually move to a better looking plant here in a moment. This is the big sage, Artemisia tridentata. This is an excellent species to grow if you live within the areas of the Great Basin and Nevada into parts of California. It has quite a wide range and it does really well, extremely drought tolerant species. And as you can see, this one and the other ones I'll show are a bit more blue, have a very bluish tint to them, and those are caused by microscopic little hairs that help protect the sun from destroying the chlorophyll within it and help keep the sun from baking out the moisture, and it also helps reflect the heat out and keep this plant nice and healthy throughout the harsh desert environments. So this one actually is growing alone, so we're going to move over here to an area where there are more growing together, because normally in their natural habitat you would see them growing in large quantities. But one thing before we move, I'd like to point out how dark these cliffs are around us. Well, they wouldn't normally be this dark. There actually was a wildfire that came through yesterday or the day before. I can still smell the smoke, so it is very recent. And these guys can tolerate when they get to larger sizes, and I'll pan the camera around here in a second, or I'll throw a clip in here of some across the way that actually did have fire move underneath them and did really well. But this particular species does not like fire, and we'll get to more of that here in a moment. So here we are in an area, before we get to the big ones I wanted to show, is actually a beautiful waterfall here. The Palouse Waterfall in Palouse Falls State Park here in eastern Washington. And I'll actually throw in a clip right now. Just because it's so beautiful, I thought I needed to throw it in here. It's part of the natural world, part of what we talked about here. But what we're talking about right now is the blue sage. And this one is growing right on the edge of this cliff with this beautiful waterfall shot. And then I'll actually throw in another shot of the waterfall right there. It is. Here is the beautiful waterfall. Just look at how magnificent that is in this whole view. All right, so now I'm in an area of much larger sagebrush, and so this can show you why it's called the big sagebrush. It gets to the size of a small tree or a large shrub. It can grow between 3 and 8 feet tall and is extremely robust and gets this large trunk on it, and is just extremely well adapted for these very harsh conditions. And so they have a very vast, deep root system. They like shallow soils that they can really reach the roots deep down into those rocks to soak up any extra moisture that they can find. And something you might notice is that they're very well spaced apart from each other, and that is done on purpose. So it's an evolutionary advantage to make sure that there's plenty of space between them so the roots can fill in the entire area and absorb all the extra water that they can possibly get. And so they actually space out evenly from each other on purpose to make sure that the survival rate of the entire population is higher. And so if you look at these guys, you might not think that there's much going on around this entire desert, but these guys have this very beautiful hue to them. And if you actually pluck a little bit of leaves off and smell, they have a very citrusy and sweet smell to them, extremely pleasant. And I'm sure there are other medicinal effects to this plant that I'm not sure about today. This is going to be the most common sage you'll find around here. There are its other counterparts that are actually more fire adapted. So when a fire comes through an area, it actually wipes out the majority of these sages. Unless they're very strong and mature and the brush around them is very low, they actually will burn up and die. They do not like fire, much unlike their other native counterparts that of the other sages that pop right back up out after fire. These guys are very endangered by that, and because there's been so much agriculture in this area and so much fire in the past few decades or a century, their populations are definitely on the decline from where they were. Now, they're still very abundant in certain regions of the area, but they're not as thick as they once were. They open up this, in between these areas, many other plants like these native bunch grasses grow, but it also makes a nice area for the cold, rough winters when they get the majority of the precipitation in the form of snow. It gives animals like mule deer and sage grouse and other species of rabbit places to nest down and be protected from those cold winters, and give them a nice dry place to take down shelter. And then it also gives food to animals like mule deer. So they are a keystone, important species to the region. They have these very large fibrous root systems that help soak up and stabilize the soil, so they're great for erosion control. Without them, the soil starts to run off and the whole landscape starts to change dramatically. So these are a very important species, and that's why I'm making a video about them. I think they're beautiful. As I'm driving through the desert, they're my favorite plant to look at. Many people do not appreciate this area because it is deemed as a barren, worthless desert with nothing living in it, but this says otherwise. There are obviously plants here. There's basically nowhere on Earth I've ever been where there are not plants present, other than maybe a few areas within Death Valley, but that's because of the high salt content and the extreme range of temperatures that occur in those areas. Like I said, I'm just here to advocate for this species and the habitat of the Columbian Basin in eastern Washington, which is a very misunderstood and beautiful location, but not maybe ideal for gardeners, as they have very dry summers and only get 8 to 12 inches of rain annually. So with that, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed these videos and you want to watch more videos about native plants and plants in different regions of the United States and the world. It's what we do here on this channel. Every single dime that this channel ever makes will be put back into protecting and preserving nature. Make sure to leave a comment if you have any questions or concerns. I try to reach out to each and every one of you to let you know I'm there, and I'm here to answer any questions that I may be able to answer, things that might not have mentioned in this video, things that you're curious about, or maybe even concerned with this video. I love positive critique, so make sure to leave a comment if you have any, and we'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your day.